Why the Church Needs Burnt Stone Leaders, Not Shiny Ones, by Brenda Seefeldt. Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble? Burned as they are? Nehemiah, chapter 4, verse 2. B. In the story of the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah returns to Jerusalem carrying letters from Artaxerxes I and a vision that had already cost him something. The walls of Jerusalem had been destroyed during the Babylonian exile. When Nehemiah heard the reports, he didn't respond with strategy first, he responded with grief. He wept, fasted, and prayed. That's where strong leadership starts. Not with ambition, but with a personal investment in the people you're called to serve. Nehemiah had every reason to stay where he was. As the king's cupbearer, he held a position of influence and security. A cushy job becomes uncomfortable when you feel a greater calling. When the king noticed his sadness and asked what was wrong, Nehemiah took a risk. Brave leadership always requires risk. He spoke honestly about the vulnerability of his people and asked for permission to rebuild. Amazingly, it pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 6b. That go moment is one you will never ever forget. Once in Jerusalem, Nehemiah assessed the reality on the ground. There was a mess to evaluate. And then there is grumbling and opposition, because work is hard work. Opposition came in the form of another leader, Sanballat. What are those feeble Jews doing? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are? Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 2. Nehemiah, knowing his dream came from God and with the authority of King Artaxerxes' letters, smiled to himself. Yes, with these burnt stones we will rebuild the wall. Early in ministry, I was chosen by leaders who recognized my calling as a woman pastor in the 1980s. But those same leaders are not with me now. Both fell in very public scandals. They were shiny leaders who had deep weaknesses that were publicly revealed. These falls from the platform have probably shaped me the most. They are still the voices in my head when I preach on any stage. Still. But what I learned the most from them is to be a burnt stone. All of the rubble has been burned out of me. Burnt stones are people who have been broken and, through the grace of God, reshaped. I no longer try to present as a completed work of God, because who is a completed work of God? Burnt stone leaders are continually learning and growing. That ongoing formation is the mark of humility. I am a burnt stone that reflects that. And sheesh, has life burnt me. I am saying that from my 45th year of ministry. What was weak and wasteful has been painfully burned away. From these burnt stones, a great wall will be built. This wall will be tall and strong and will not be knocked down. Nehemiah knew that when he built his wall, even though he had burnt materials, he had the strongest materials. What was weak and wasteful was burned away. What was left was the best. God wants burnt stones. Yes, with these burnt stones, we will rebuild the wall. The church these days needs burnt stone leaders. What cushy space might I need to step out of to follow God's leading? Who or what sounds like Sanballat in my life? What voices discourage or mock what I'm building? What truth do I need to hold on to when others doubt what God has called me to do? Am I resisting my story of brokenness or allowing God to use it? Do I feel pressure to appear put together instead of being honest about my growth? What would it look like to lead as someone still being formed?